the reason that there is a housing crisis is that not enough houses have been built.
And that we have 25 million people who shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
I think it's both.
I know you do. I don't think that many people who look into this agree with you, but about a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large portion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
That's Trump running mate JD Vance educating a smug New York Times reporter about who will do our manual labor jobs if we deport all the illegals being exploited for cheap labor. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and boy oh boy have liberals really been saying the quiet part out loud lately when it comes to how they feel about illegals, or as they refer to them, undocumented Americans. And shocker, it has very little to do with pursuing the American dream or giving them a better life.
Well, I think it's a fair question because we know that back in the 1960s when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses. But of course they did. And I'm being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu, the assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes. I think, again,
the country is much bigger. The need is much bigger. I mean, I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration. I'm asking how you would deal with the knock-on effect of your proposal to remove millions of people who work in a critical part of the economy.
Well, I think that what you would do is you would take, let's say, for example, the 7 million prime age men who have dropped out of the labor force, and you have a smaller number of women, but still millions of women prime age who have dropped out of the labor force. You absolutely could re-engage folks into the American labor market. This is, I think,
to work in construction?
Of course you could.
I mean, the unemployment rate is 4.1%. Most people
unemployment rate, Lulu, this is important.
But most people who don't work can't work in the regular economy. They're in the military, they're parents, they're sick, they're old. They might not want to work in construction.
The unemployment rate does not count labor force participation dropout.
You know, this argument is absolutely wild for her to make here, because you know who else could have made a similar argument? Southern plantation owners in the 1800s. I mean, she's assuming here that no one will do these jobs, or that only illegals want to work in construction or agriculture and aren't doing it through necessity. As if they all had a dream of coming to America to do subpar work on construction sites or something. You know, this lady says she isn't arguing for illegal immigration, but she absolutely is, and in the sleaziest way possible that somehow spits in the face of displaced American workers and the people she's pretending to care about.
And again, this is one of the really deranged things that I think illegal immigration does to our society, is it gets us in a mindset of saying we can only build houses with illegal immigrants when we have 7 million, just men, not even women, just men who have completely dropped out of the labor force. People say, well, Americans won't do those jobs. Americans won't do those jobs for below the table wages. They won't do those jobs for non-living wages. But people will do those jobs. They will just do those jobs at certain wages. And think about this from the perspective of an American company, okay? I want them to go searching in their own country for their own citizens. Sometimes people who may be struggling with addiction or trauma, get them re-engaged in American society. We cannot have an entire American business community that is giving up on American workers and then importing millions of illegal laborers. That is what we have thanks to Kamala Harris's border policies. I think it's one of the biggest drivers of inequality. It's one of the biggest reasons why we have millions of people who have dropped out of the labor force. Why try to re-engage an American citizen in a good job if you can just import somebody from Central America who's going to work under the table for poverty wages? It is a disgrace, and it has led to the evisceration of the American middle class.
You know, liberals were a lot more palatable when they pretended empathy was the reason they wanted open borders. Now they're just blatantly saying it's a necessity for them to maintain their personal comfort and standard of living. It's almost like someone arguing in favor of sweatshops because it gives them cheap clothes. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts that when Trump starts mass deportation, the people in establishment media will run story after story about how prices are rising because actual Americans are filling these positions, and that's bad because elites have to pay more for services and professions they look down on. But let me know what you think. Will people fill these positions, or they just remain vacant until the end of time? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye!